This meeting is being recorded by the City of Greenfield. If any other persons present are doing the same, please notify me this time.
Yes, Jaden Grazik.
Okay, thank you, Jay. That's all I need to say at this moment. Roll call. Nancy Bershoff, I'm the chair of the Board of Health.
Alyssa Valbona, member.
Sam McIver, member.
Megan Tudrin, public health nurse.
Jen Hoffman, health director.
We also have the mayor as our guest tonight. Thank you, Mayor Roxanne.
Just for a little while. I'll have to pack up and go to the school committee meeting before too long.
Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the May 9th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Pardon?
I put a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any conversation, discussion about them, problems? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, motion approved, minutes approved. Okay, looking for a COVID update, Jennifer and Megan.
Jen, do you want me to go?
Yes,
I'll take
please.
that as a yes. So in April, we had 190 cases that were lab confirmed. In May, we had 353. And so far in June, we have 55. So we did start the wastewater treatment testing, and we've had 4 weeks worth of data. And so far, it's still very high. We did have a tiny little drop the second week, but now we're back up to where we started. And I think a lot of our numbers are skewed because pool testing is stopping in the schools because it's the end of the year. We also had a bunch of people drop out of pool testing right before prom and graduation, so that if they were positive, they could still attend their events. And we know that there was a lot of positives that were at those events from contact tracing, but either didn't test or did home tests and didn't follow the isolation guidelines. So I'm assuming that next week our numbers are going to be even higher.
A lot of celebrating going on, right?
What was that?
A lot of celebrating going on. Is that what you're implying?
Yes. And we were working with our epidemiologist, Jack Sullivan, who's working on the grant with us. And he was talking about the newest variants. We have right now 70.9% of our cases in Greenfield are the BA212.1. And that one is the most contagious that we have so far that we've seen. And it's not within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more anymore. It's now outdoors. It can be more than 6 feet. It could be for 5 minutes. So those kind of old guidelines don't work anymore for this new variant, which is hard for contact tracing. For the people that want to do the right thing, the guidelines are old. And then the BA4 and 5 just got turned into a variant of concern. It was a variant of interest, but now it's in the United States. 0.4 of the cases are in the Northeast right now, and that was just found within the last week or so. So those numbers are going to start going up because that one is even more contagious than everything else we've seen. And that one evades immunity. So people that have had it within the last 90 days can get it again. And the vaccines don't hold up to this one so far. So that's what's coming down the pike.
Whoa.
Do you have any sources on any of that stuff you could pass along to us?
Yeah, I can send you the wastewater testing.
I've got that one. I was thinking
newest
more on I've got the wastewater from the board packet. I was thinking more like guidelines around like distancing and outside and stuff like that. Like if you've anything from like CDC or like WHO or anything like that that you could pass along, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I'll ask Jack for his information. He's the one that's been going on to all the meetings with Harvard, and there's a bunch of different research projects that he's involved in. So he's got all that information. I'll ask him to send it over.
Thanks so much.
Excuse me one second. On that note, we had a meeting with our epidemiologist today, the collaborative, and for those who aren't aware, we are collaborating with this grant with the towns of Montague, Deerfield, and Sunderland. And the presentation he gave was, I thought was excellent. Megan can give you her opinion. And I think I would like him to present to the board in the near future, as well as the public for informational purposes, just to see the trends that we have seen from March of 2020 till May 31st of 2022.
Wait, we are really getting pounded by this COVID. It's
One of the new things that I'm
amazing.
working on, I don't think I said this already, was the long COVID. I just started doing more research on it, and it seems like between 10 and 30% of our
Yeah.
cases are getting long COVID. And I think that that's almost worse than, like we've been always concentrating on hospitalizations and deaths, but the long COVID is really the thing that's going to impact us the most. I have a few people that haven't been able to go back to work. It's been 3 months, and one of my cases works in a factory and is unable to go back because of the dizziness. You can't work on a machine if you're dizzy. I have another person that's passing out twice a day. The wait list to get into the clinic for long COVID at Bay State is already booked out till November. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now too, is that it's not talked about so much, but it's absolutely debilitating when people get that.
Yeah.
And as for
speaking of hospitals,
hospitalizations,
Yeah.
they have been on average the past couple of weeks about five cases per day, which is higher than previous months.
yeah, five total cases a day on the average, not 5 new cases a day, right? Yeah. Okay. Sobering, difficult to comprehend what to do. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. We have the next item on the agenda is a tobacco violation. Alyssa and Sam, did you get the email about that? Okay, and I think in the board packet was the regulations about tobacco violations and the consequences, and what our job really is to assess the appeal. So we have a letter of appeal in the form of this email, and this Ben Brooks, you're here. You're here.
Yes, I am.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you. Yes,
thank you.
okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't make the connection there. All right.
That's okay.
Okay, so if I can just reflect here, in your email, you said that as of June 1st, you are implementing a mandatory ID scanning for all ages, right?
Correct.
Restricted products, okay.
Yes.
And that's in my mind very impressive, and I congratulate you on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you've already initiated payment of the fine. For what we can do here at the Board of Health, especially based on your effort already, we have the leeway of deciding whether you have a 1-day suspension of your right to sell up to 30 days.
Okay.
So our job is to decide how many
Right.
days
Mhm.
as a board. And my recommendation is that we would make it 1 day.
Okay.
Um,
I thank you very much, and I'll speak when I can, but I really appreciate that.
So I'll offer a motion that for the I don't have a name for it. You're representing FL Roberts.
Yeah, FL Roberts was the old corporation that Nouria Energy out of Worcester, Massachusetts purchased several years back.
Okay.
So Nouria Energy is who the violation was for, because
Okay.
we are the owner of that location.
Okay. So I move that we limit the suspension of the sale of tobacco products to 1 day for this violation by Nouria Energy.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And is there any further discussion? Okay, I just again want to share my appreciation for you taking action on this.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to add that, you know, we take this extremely seriously. Obviously, we had this in the works. We made a significant investment in the technology it takes to do the ID scanning. We just came up a few weeks short of this violation, but now it's not just an entering of a birth date at the register, it's an actual scanning of the barcode, or it is completely blocked from being able to bring in a price for those age restricted products. And we've done that company-wide from Maine to Connecticut, and we're proud of that, and hope that we expect it to be very effective. We value our standing in the communities and view our tobacco, view it as a privilege to be able to sell tobacco. It's not a right, and we do take it very seriously. So thank you very much. My only question is, how do we determine what day and how we go about it? I have very little experiences. Thankfully, we don't have this happen very often across our 150 stores, but if you could explain how we go about doing the 1 day suspension.
Let's see, I'm going to defer to Jennifer. Are you on, and can you explain that?
I am. Well, I think that since this violation occurred early to mid-May, I would kind of like it to be effective as of midnight tonight till 12:01 the next day. I'd like to just do the penalty pretty much immediately.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have John Paninchny with us. He's our director of operations and responsible for all store operations. I'm the tobacco category manager, so we work in tandem together. And John will be more involved in the actual execution of the suspension. So, John, do you have any questions with that?
No. First and foremost, thank you, board. This is obviously not the circumstances I would love to meet you all, but nonetheless, here we are. So I will make sure that the store at 12:01 to 12:01, the 24-hour period, ceases cigarettes, and I will call the store as soon as we get off the phone. And I certainly thank you. We worked hard on this technology to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And we're not proud of it, but we understand that's the risk in the business in which we do. But protecting our guests and the underage community is vital to us. So, and for what it's worth too, I heard the conversation around COVID. If anyone is interested, we have a pretty in-depth COVID plan that we use the Churchill captive, and we use the CDC guidelines. So we take our COVID standards extraordinarily serious. And anything that you guys feel that maybe we could do better on, I would love to get together as a group. We do that in some of our communities up in Maine, with the Better Business Bureaus and town halls up there as well. So if there's any interest, because we have 2 locations in Greenfield, our door is always open to work with you folks to keep the community safe.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you coming. Personally, both of you, and I'm delighted to hear about how you're managing this, and hope that you're a leader as far as that goes out in the field of other businesses that are selling.
We are. We're one of the first
Yeah.
in New England to do the ID
All
scanning.
right.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Great.
only one other company doing it, and they beat us to it because I initiated this when I came from BJ's Wholesale Club, where that's where we did do it. So we initiated that here. But again, we were at the mercy of the technology. We got it, we purchased it, we installed it, and we're ready to go. So I will send, would someone like confirmation? I can be, I'll make sure that I have the district manager up in the store tomorrow as well, to send pictures to the team, or how would you like confirmation that we are doing what we're going to do? I'm sure you may have someone swing by the store, possibly. I don't know.
Jennifer?
Yes. So confirmation, as soon as you put this in effect would be great. You both, I think Mr. Brooks has my email,
He does.
and myself or one of my inspectors will be by tomorrow at some point.
Perfect. So what I'll do, Ben, is I will send you a picture. What I'll do is I'll remove all the cigarettes from the case, so they won't even be visible to the guests. And we'll remove them for 24 hours. I'll email you a picture, and then you can send it to this population here.
Excellent. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate all your consideration in this. Thank you.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think we might still need to vote.
We not vote?
We didn't vote. That was all discussion.
Oh, okay. All those in favor? Good. Thank you for reminding me of those important items. So I get lost in the whatevers.
It's a lot to run a meeting and
Yeah.
to manage it all. I totally
Glad to have the backup, believe me. Okay, next on the agenda is the Lent property audit. And I know a number of folks have joined this evening to hear about what we have to say about that. So I'd like to open this conversation by saying this has just been plain difficult for me personally. I think it's been difficult for a lot of people going through the process of knowing about the Lent cleanup, the needs, the DEP audit, and so forth. And we've had a number of days. I'm just going to read some remarks that I've written up here because that'll let everybody know where I'm at with this. So we've all had a number of days to read and digest the Mass DEP audit. And there are 6 areas outlined that require attention and more work. Most of these concern the extent of the TCE contamination, identifying the sources and finding ways to mitigate or stop further spread. The state has given us only 60 days to submit a conceptual phase 2 scope of work that will need approval before we can proceed with further cleanup. In addition to the audit, we received a document entitled Key Findings prepared by the Lent Neighborhood Action Group. And here's a quote from the key findings I'd just like to read. The Board of Health has not used its skills and authority to assist the community by requiring accurate information, and by doing so, it has failed to protect the public health of the Lent neighborhood. I have spent a great deal of time considering this statement. I agree that we did not have all that we did not have accurate information, meaning we did not have all the information that I would like to have had. For that, I accept full responsibility. As the chair of the Board of Health, I'm the one charged with getting all of the relevant materials to my board for review. I apologize to my board, to the Lent neighborhood, and to the citizens of Greenfield for my error. Looking back, I can see my blind spot. For the January 26, 2022 Board of Health meeting, I did fully review the materials we had at the health department. And I did gather supporting information from the state DEP and from the EPA, but I was unable to see what was missing, the glaring absence of the DEP's full response to the OTO. OTO is the licensed site professional company. The OTO's phase 2 CSA submission of April 2020. Without that, it was impossible to clearly understand where things stood. In my opinion, the audit we just received for the phase 2 submission is exactly what we should have received in 2020. I was also misled by a DEP communication to Glenn Ayers of January 21st, 2022, which seemed to indicate the phase 2 report was received and that nothing was amiss. Obviously, this was inaccurate. While I am dismayed at my own misunderstanding and the lack of proper and timely feedback from the state DEP on the 2020 phase 2 report, I am very grateful to the public involvement process for forcing the state DEP to finally respond. Now it is crystal clear what needs to be done. The city has 60 days to submit a conceptual phase 2 scope of work and complete the actions in the audit and submit those to the state. I am aware that some citizens are calling for a new LSP, licensed site professional. We have received a number of emails from Greenfield citizens recommending that we hire a new LSP, we, the city. Given the short time and the uncertainty of how to go forward with that, even if it is allowed by the state, which I'm not sure it is, I do not suggest that option. Rather, I would call on a senior member of OTO to provide additional oversight of the work by Bruce Nicholson, and that the city, the Board of Health, and the public involvement process pay close attention to this next phase of the cleanup. The other thing that I would like to suggest that we consider is arranging a Board of Health meeting where we invite the Department of Environmental Protection officials to come and to respond to questions about the audit and the LSP, whatever. So I think that's something that we can arrange, and I want to put that out there as a possibility, as a follow-up to this meeting. So at this point, I would invite my fellow board members and our health director and the mayor, whoever, to offer their perspective.
Looks like Sam has a hand raised.
I feel at this point we don't have enough information to make any decisions. I think we have a lot of questions, a lot of unknown information. And I think I agree that we should really table this discussion until another meeting where we can get more people here to answer our questions.
Yeah, I really like the idea of having someone from the state come and just give us a little bit more information and help walk, hopefully, I'm sure lots of folks are involved in next steps right now, but just shed some light on what our options are for next steps, because 60 days is it's really not that much time to do yeah, 60 days is a really quick turnaround. So I'm grateful for this audit. I feel like it did what it's supposed to do. And I'd love more explanation from the DEP.
Thank you, Alyssa, and thank you, Sam.
You want me to go next?
Please.
Okay. So like you, Nancy, I find the information in the audit concerning, and I appreciate very much that certainly the people who live around 298 Federal Street, but everyone in Greenfield who is following this is concerned and should be concerned. And similarly, I have said this all along, I personally, as mayor, but as Roxanne Gardner, citizen of Greenfield and taxpayer, who also lives in the neighborhood just slightly to the east of it, do welcome the PIP process and thank the PIP petitioners for bringing this forward. I've said it before, and I meant it then, and I mean it now. And also, I'm very happy to now have the audit, because I think it does provide the information that was missing, that we needed and have needed basically since 2020. So it is now that I have it, I just want to remind people I have a lot of information. I have 3 accordion files folders full of information going back to 2012 on this, but at some point it stopped in 2019. I do have a copy of the draft 2020 phase 2, I guess it's a second round ESA. And I believe that is in fact the very document that was reviewed by DEP, along with things that they saw and inquired about on their site visit, and also likely had further conversations with OTO. So now I'm brought up. I feel like I've been brought up to date in that respect, and I'm glad that they were finally on the job to review it, and have done what appears to be a very thorough review of it. So I do know that OTO is working on it. Bruce Nicholson in particular, the LSP, and he is having senior staff, or at least certainly people that are not he, but that he works with, review it as well in order to provide a proper response. The time frame, while short, is potentially subject to some flexibility, I understand, from Mr. Ziegler, but it is OTO's intention to finish it as much as possible, get it done on time. So at this moment, that's exactly the way they are working. So I support your idea of having someone from DEP. They certainly do have Western, what they call the Western region people. I don't know what that is exactly, what area, the entire area that it covers, but have them come to a meeting of the Board of Health in order to get your questions so that you can also now participate fully. Because I feel like we, whether we like it or not, we've been brought in at the, at almost the 11th hour. So you can rest assured that I will give the information that comes to us from OTO, along with my lawyer, who is an environmental lawyer and does handle these types of cases a lot. and has worked in the past for Greenfield. Along with him, give the information that we get from them in terms of steps and mitigation that they want to take. For each of the 6 areas, I will give it the greatest scrutiny and be ready with whatever questions that I may have in order to see what the next steps are. So I'm interested in those next steps too, and hearing what exactly they are. I suspect they are just as they are just as has been said in the past, recommendations from the DEP on the mitigation that needs to happen, further recommendations, and then either agreeing with what OTO puts in front of them, or gives them further guidance. So that's what I have to say on this. With regard to the new LSP idea, I have said this consistently. OTO has been on this project since 2012. They do have the information that they have. It's disappointing. It's greatly disappointing that we've gotten this far and we know some of the things that we know, the data gaps, the additional things that need to happen in terms of mitigation, that we've gotten this far. But this is the way the process works. It is fairly long. It's technical. It's includes a lot of communication back and forth between DEP and the environmental agency involved, which happens to be OTO. And I don't think it's wise or prudent to change that horse in the middle of this stream, really, because that in and of itself would take a long time. And any new person would have to review the same material from start to finish and basically still comply with the order. So we're going to stick with the person that we have until such time as it seems that, whatever the next steps are, if we're not satisfied, then we can take it to a different level. But this is where we're at right now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, and I
Appreciate your
did want to
comments.
say, in terms of getting that meeting and the number and the people that you want at it, I'm happy to assist in that, have my office assist you and Director Hoffman in making sure that that gets done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Director Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say if the board would want me to reach out to the DEP and the contacts on there to see if we can schedule a time with them, that would be convenient for them and the board. So I just wanted to know if that was the case. And Nancy, I did want to reiterate, and I think everyone feels very similarly that's spoken on the board as well as the mayor, that and as everyone knows, records requests were pulled and we never had that second phase 2 report. So so it's very disheartening. So I just wanted to let you know that it is discouraging, but I'm hopeful at this point that everything's going to be done appropriately.
Thank you.
I'm going to probably leave
Yes.
shortly because I have to pack up and get myself over to the John's On. So. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your presence.
Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And as I said, once again, thank you to the petitioners and the people that have their eye on this as well amongst our citizens, because they've helped bring us to where we're at. and to get the DEP off the dime. So thank you.
Any other comments from our board about the Lent process? Okay, we have a little, don't have a lot of time here. Is there anything important, Jennifer, on property inspections or restaurant inspections that you need to offer? Otherwise, we'll move on to public comments.
There are a couple of things I'd like to just bring up with properties.
Okay,
So, the city of Greenfield's health department has been having a couple of complaints and concerns about the unofficial dog park. Nicole and I went there and spoke to the people there that have been, staying there, and we were asking where their waste, where they're putting their waste, trash, so on and so forth, and they stated they dump their gray water at the water department and their trash at the trash site at the dump, and they shower and stuff like that at the YMCA. They have memberships there. So I confirmed that information with the water department, and they said that yes, indeed, they're dumping their gray water and other waste materials there. And it's an honor system. They do sign a book to dump it, but they confirm that that is being done. I have been there a few other times just to spot check and double check, just to see how things are going and checking in. They are not young, not old, but not young. So I just wanted to, especially with the weather being so warm, just wanted to also check on their well-being. As for everything else there, though, it's more of a police issue of if they should be there, shouldn't be there. But from a health department perspective, there was a concern about our people, using the river as their personal bathroom. And as far as I can see and document, they are not. But
do
I'm
they
not with them
use-
24
do they
hours a
use-
day, but
yeah.
they're not.
Do they have a
Um,
porta potty accessible?
No, but there are trash cans available.
Yeah, but what do they, you mean for their feces? You don't mean for,
They have gray water, they collect it.
yeah, the gray water is different than,
Oh, and their fecal matter, they
Yeah.
collect and bring it to the wastewater treatment.
oh, that goes too. Oh,
Yes,
all right.
everything is
So it's not
going.
just gray water, it's
No,
their,
no,
all their
everything is
waste.
going. Sorry, I wasn't
all their
clear.
bodily waste. Okay,
All their bodily functions are going to the water treatment plant.
okay.
And they
got it.
sign a journal, and it's documented that they
Interesting. I had no idea.
So I
that
just
was
wanted to
legal.
confirm that. So that's one. Two is 10 Montague City Road. That has been on our radar. I mean, even in the health department, way before I was there, it's been ongoing. And this is it was a former junkyard, and the gentleman there lost his license, and there's a whole licensing concern. Again, not a health department issue. We've been following up with this gentleman, trying to have him remove the metal and the cars and just all the stuff he has there from a junkyard. And it's very difficult to move progress with that. We started implementing fines, but when it comes to unregistered vehicles, this is more of a buildings issue. So Commissioner Snow is now working on that. However, we visit this gentleman weekly to every other week. And about a month or two ago, he came to our office, and he was extremely unkempt and wearing soiled clothes, bodily fluids, and he was discussing fines with us and so on and so forth. Our other inspector, Mr. Arroyo, has visited a few times, and he didn't change his clothes. But last week, he was not doing well, where I filed an elder at risk form and a complaint. And Megan Tudrin went to visit him today, and LifePath is there today. And we have him set up with his doctor. So I know Mark Snow went there yesterday. I don't know the outcome of that conversation as of yet. We've just been two ships in the wind with each other. So, but I will follow up. but we have been trying to work with this gentleman, but he is kind of ill right now. Coombs Ave, I don't know if anyone's noticed, trash is starting to recollect. I have sent notification to that person, that's the landlord. I haven't heard anything back. So again, we're going to start enforcing that. Place Terrace, that other famous property. The middle apartment in that property is pretty much the culprit of all the trash and unregistered cars. So besides the owner of the property, I also put an order to correct to that tenant personally. They're in the middle of an eviction process separately. So that's back on our radar again. I met with the Attorney General's office regarding receivership programs last week, and we had 10 properties. I think I told you about the last 5 last time. We went to 1113 Russell Street, 31 Cheapside, 20 Meridian. And basically, we're probably moving ahead with several of the properties we saw last time and this time for receivership. There are 2 properties we saw that were not actually condemned yet, but economic development thought they were. However, I wrote significant orders to correct on them. They're still occupied and owned and just having some significant issues. So that's what's going on with properties.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Thanks. for your report.
Restaurant inspections. So since that's the next thing on, we've picked up our restaurant inspections. I've been doing many myself. I've been telling the restaurants in the community, now that we're, back in the swing of things, we're trying to get all our restaurants kind of aligned and on a schedule. So I told all of them that we're going to be visiting again in 3 to 6 months, not because of anything that was wrong. We just want to get on a more set schedule. It's a minimum to do 1 a year by the code. So I want to pretty much go more than even twice a year, but people aren't used to that. So we are definitely pretty much almost done with all the restaurant inspections in Greenfield. I think we only have like 4 left, but they are now going to be on a schedule that's going to be much more consistent. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to move on to public comments. We have 15 minutes. I need to know how many folks would like to comment to understand how. So we have 1. How are there others? I see 1.
Nancy, would you like me to moderate?
I would like you to moderate. Thank you very much, Alyssa.
Can everyone who wants to comment just say hi in the chat? That will probably be the easiest way for me to keep track. If you don't have access to the chat for some reason.
Okay, I'd like request that comments be limited to 3 minutes. Alyssa?
3 minutes, yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't find the chat on my device, but I'd like to speak at some point too.
Was that John? Sorry, I was flipping.
Yes, sorry, John Bottomley.
Okay, so I've got John, I've got Glenn. Anyone else? Okay. John, you're on my screen now, so why don't you go for it?
Great, thank you. Thanks, and thank you to the Board of Health. I know this has been difficult and there's a crazy amount of information. So I really do appreciate your work and looking at it. I wanted to respond to a couple comments from the mayor, in that I really feel the Lent neighborhood group is the only reason we have a DEP audit in our hands. That's really it. It started with our experts that came to the EDC meeting on the council, and that's the only reason that we have an audit. And I believe it showed a lot of really insufficient and disturbing results in it. So, and that's because this whole plan was privatized. So OTO is the one that's responsible for that cleanup, and they didn't do it. I also wanted to say to the mayor, we don't want her thanks. We want the property cleaned up. And to follow up on that, I want to say we will probably need your help. This has been extremely difficult. We've faced resistance at every step of the way. And I don't have confidence in OTO that this will actually get done because they've been on it since 2012. And all we have is obfuscation and incorrect information. And the DEP actually did the audit. So I heard a lot of shade thrown at DEP, but they did provide us the information we need, and we need to make sure that it actually gets cleaned up. So that's what I care about. And I really hope that you will help us get there. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Let me just reset. Okay, Glenn.
Hi, Board of Health members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comments, and I'll try to be brief. I just want to acknowledge Nancy's public apology. I understand how difficult that was. And I, from experience, from being a chair of a Board of Health way back many years ago, it's not an easy thing to do to talk to the public and admit that you may have erred. So I appreciate that very much. I just want to say that as this board would understand, in housing matters, a lawyer cannot represent, in a landlord-tenant dispute, a lawyer cannot represent both sides. A lawyer could not go into court and represent the landlord at the same time as representing the tenant. That would be a clear conflict of interest. It would be a violation of their code of ethics, and the judge would never allow that. In this case, we have a landlord-tenant situation, and it has turned into a dispute, whether the mayor admits it or not. 401 Liberty Street is the tenant, the city is the landlord, and we do not agree on what needs to be done at Lunt. And the tenant told us that at the PIP meeting, that they will do nothing unless forced to do it by DEP. And that is not DEP's job. That's not what DEP does. This is a very unusual thing to have a municipality issued a notice of noncompliance. It is very rare. And I've worked in this area my entire career, and I can tell you it doesn't happen often. And so what we have is a situation where the LSP works for the tenant and pretends to submit information on behalf of the city, and that is completely illegitimate. And what the city needs, and the audit points this out very clearly, and everything up to this point shows, the city needs to have an independent LSP to review this information. I don't expect the Board of Health to have the expertise to do this. We need professional help. We need that. We cannot go forward without the city being adequately represented by a competent LSP, because the tenant is conflicted. The tenant wants to do what the tenant is best for the tenant, and that is not the best for the citizens of Greenfield. So I'm not going to give up on this fact. I'm going to push it, and if necessary, we will petition DEP to take over the cleanup of Lunt and to hire, DEP has the authority to hire an LSP
That's
at the
3.
city's expense. So if necessary, we will do that. And again, I want to thank you for what I consider to be a different direction that the board is taking regarding this, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Anyone else for public comment?
Okay, I think then we're ready to set the next meeting. And
Nancy,
yes.
would it be
Okay.
possible, or would the board be interested in having Jack Sullivan come in for a presentation?
You're talking about the epidemiologist?
Correct.
Sure.
Because it would take up more than a board meeting, so I
Yeah.
think it should be held separately.
Yeah. And we're also talking about having a meeting where we invite the DEP.
That I could, soon as I speak to them, I will get you guys the date of when it's,
Okay.
or dates. I'll ask for a couple of dates.
Okay. So I think rather than scheduling a next board meeting, I'm just gonna close my calendar and say we have other things that we're going to work on first, and that will help us determine, what the future will be. So let's do that first. Okay, is that good?
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn then?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, great. All those in favor? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.